Sweet holy storm. That series of expletives is really what I said when I first unboxed this watch, and everyone I've shown this to has said their own version of that in their more polite and civilized ways. I see a lot of watches and a lot of watch movements, and this thing, it caught me off guard, and that should not take away from the case or the dial because everything that's going on here deserves some attention. But first, let me hit you with a hard truth. This watch is not for you. This costs $145,000 and it's limited to 30 pieces. And if you had the money, maybe you could find one, and I certainly know people who do have the money for this, but most of those people are busy chasing overpriced hype watches for the same price instead of some actual high horology fire like this. I shouldn't judge, but I do. It's easy and it's fun. I feel like I've made a lot of videos about Parmigiani watches, and what's interesting about that is that I can't actually see myself owning a Parmigiani watch. They're a little more than I want to spend on a watch, especially this one, and they're usually dressier than I'm into. But damn, I do respect the watchmaking, mechanically and aesthetically. I'm into it. You can be into watches and know that they're not for you. Some of you need to come to that realization and stop buying watches that you're never going to wear. You know who you are. The Parmigiani Toric collection has been around for a while. It was actually one of the first collections when Parmigiani started in the 90s. The King of England, King Chuck, he wears an older Toric chronograph. He seems to wear it more than he wears any other watch, and I think he was even coronated wearing it. But this year, in 2024, Parmigiani relaunched the Toric collection. There are now 2 petite second watches and this limited edition Rattrapante watch. I'll get into what a Rattrapante means. Hint, it has something to do with a very American condiment. I already gave you the bad news about the price, $145,000, and I already told you that it's limited to 30 pieces. Part of the reason for that price is the 18 karat rose gold case that's 42.5 millimeters across, 14 millimeters thick, and 48 millimeters long. It has what seems to be 21 millimeter lugs, but that might not matter to you since you'll probably only be able to use straps like this that are made for curved spring bars. The watch has 30 meters of water resistance, which I know is a bummer because you probably wanted to use this to time your dive. It uses the new in-house PF361 Slim movement that has 65 hours of power reserve and a lot more going on. Now you're seeing this watch on my 7-inch wrist. That means that this watch costs about $20,700 per inch of my wrist. For those of you with wrists smaller than 7 inches, I'm sorry to say that this watch will cost you more per inch of your wrist. But you probably don't have to spend as much on food because of your, stature. So, that's something. So what is a Rattrapante? It's a type of complication which in the watch world means a feature. Rattrapante can be translated into English as catch up or to catch up, and it's one of the most complicated complications to complicate. Some people call it a split seconds chronograph because the seconds hand can be kind of split off and you can time splits with it, of course. Once the chronograph is running and the seconds hand is going around the dial, you press the crown pusher to time a split. One seconds hand stops, and seemingly out of nowhere, another seconds hand slides out from the other one and keeps going. It basically allows you to time 2 things at once if they start at the same time. And the catch-up part, it turns out that has almost nothing to do with the tomato-based condiment, I'm sorry, but pressing the crown pusher again makes the stationary second hand catch up with the one that's running. It Rattrapantes. Man, I'm gonna get some letters about my French. The dial of the watch is made using a technique developed by Michel Parmigiani. First, the dial, like the case, is made of 18 karat gold, and this matte texture is made by hand brushing the dial and then polishing it. And the result is, it's damn great. An absolutely unnecessary amount of labor, and it's awesome, which is kind of the theme of this watch, because, just look at this movement, or as my wife calls it, the innards. Beautiful innards. For me, the best movements are advanced in their complication and well-finished and beautifully designed. You can have a well-finished, complicated movement that isn't architected in an interesting way, but then you see something like this with its elegant bridges and depth and even rose gold to match the case and dial and the hands. It's exquisite. And when I say sweet holy storm, I mean it. The movement is a high beat movement. It ticks 10 times per second or at 5 hertz, and it's made of 285 components, which means that there are about 281 components in here that I have no idea what they do. The case is just gorgeous too. I think the coin edge bezel is perfect here. I think it works better on the Toric watches than it does on the Tonda watches. And this gold, this rose gold, honestly, it's like troubling for me. This makes me want a gold watch, and that's not a desire I need festering in my brain. And while I said that Parmigiani watches are out of my price range and out of my style, wearing this for a few days, I can't help but think, what if? Because in one way, this is what mechanical watches are really about. The art of watchmaking, the engineering, the design, the craft, and okay, yeah, maybe a little of the luxury exclusivity. 30 pieces, $145,000. I get to wear it, and you don't.